Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, everyone. Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. I have Tina and Marla and Kate and Craig and Rob and Scott today and Paul. So we've got two visitors today. I'm glad to see Paul making it back today since we changed the time. He hasn't been able to. And Rob, glad to have you, sir. I know this is an odd time for you. Today we're going to be talking about the pivot. There is no I. Also, guys, we're going to be starting a private Tao of Our Understanding Facebook group. So if you would like to join, we can talk about, continue the conversation and post other recovery-related posts and conversations. Just look for the Tao of Our Understanding in search for that as a private group in Facebook, and you'll be able to find that. We're going to get that started this week. So have some good things there for you related to the podcast. And it's free. Okay, the pivot. Who would like to read for us? Y'all need me to put it up on the screen? Or are y'all good with it? Anyone need the screen? Okay.
I can read if you want.
Okay.
The pivot. Tao is obscured when men understand only one of a pair of opposites or concentrate only on a partial aspect of being. Then clear expression also becomes muddled by mere wordplay, affirming this one aspect and denying all the rest. Hence the wrangling of Confucians and Mohists. Each denies what the other affirms and affirms what the other denies. What use is this struggle to set up, quote, no against, quote, yes, and yes against no? Better to abandon this hopeless effort and seek true light. There's nothing that cannot be seen from the standpoint of the not I, and there's nothing which cannot be seen from the standpoint of the I. If I begin by looking at anything from the viewpoint of the not I, then I do not really see it, since it is not I that sees it. If I begin from where I am and see it as I see it, then it may also become possible for me to see it as another sees it. Hence the theory of reversal, that opposites produce each other, depend on each other, and complement each other. However this may be, life is followed by death, death is followed by life. The possible becomes impossible, the impossible becomes possible, right turns into wrong and wrong into right. The flow of life alters circumstances, and thus things themselves are altered in their turn. But disputants continue to affirm and to deny the same things they have always affirmed and denied, ignoring the new aspects of reality presented by the change in conditions. Boy, is that relevant. The wise man, therefore, instead of trying to prove this or that point by logical disputation, sees all things in the light of direct intuition. He is not imprisoned by the limitations of the I, for the viewpoint of direct intuition is that of both I and not I. Hence he sees that on both sides of every argument there's both right and wrong. He also sees that in the end they are reducible to the same thing, once they are related to the pivot of Tao. When the wise man grasps this pivot, he is in the center of the circle, and there he stands while yes and no pursue each other around the circumference. The pivot of the Tao passes through the center, where all affirmations and denials converge. He who grasps the pivot is at the still point from which all movements and oppositions can be seen in their right relationship. Hence he sees the limitless possibilities of both yes and no. Abandoning all thought of imposing a limit or taking sides, he rests in direct intuition. Therefore, I said, better to abandon disputation and seek the true light.
Thanks, Marla. I want to read one other
Every time I read something new, every time I read it, there's something new pops out. Very interesting. But go ahead.
I want to read another translation of this by Guy Fu Feng and Jane English before we start talking about it. Then we'll go back and look at it a little closer. If there is no other, there is no I. If there is no I, there is no one to perceive. This is close to the truth, but we do not know why. There must be some primal force, for we cannot discover any proof. I believe it acts, but I cannot see it. I can feel it, but it has no form. The 100 joints, 9 openings, and 6 organs all function together. Which part do you prefer? Do you like them all equally, or do you have a favorite? Are they not all servants? Can they keep order among themselves, or do they take turns being masters and servants? It may be that there is indeed a true master. Whether I really feel his existence or not has nothing to do with the way it is. Once a man is given a body, it works naturally as long as it lasts. It carries on through hardship and ease, and like a galloping horse, nothing can stop it. Isn't it sad? All through life, one toils and sweats, never seeing any result. Weary and exhausted, he has no place to rest his bones. Isn't this a pity? One may say there is no death. What good does that do? When the body decays, so does the mind. Is this not a great sorrow? Is life really this absurd? Am I the only one who sees the absurdity? Don't others see it too? Comments?
No, let's take it apart.
Let's do it. Let's go back to the other translation talking about the Tao is obscured when men understand only one pair of opposites or concentrate only on a partial aspect of being. For me, that is setting me up to be way out of balance.
What do you mean?
Well,
Yeah, when you're...
Because if I don't have, if I'm taking a hard opinion on something and I focus on, I can see this with life. I have this tendency to go all out and do one thing and do it a bunch and then go do something else and then something else and not have any kind of, are you there with me, Tina? Yeah, not any kind of real balance. Used to be really bad about it. I'd have a hobby and I would want to do that hobby all the time. And then it would go to another hobby and then it would go to another. No balance at all. And I like what he says in this, then clear expression also becomes muddled by mere wordplay, affirming this one aspect and denying all the rest. Hence the wrangling of Confucians and Mohists. Each denies what the other affirms and affirms what the other denies. What use is this the struggle to set up no against yes and yes against no? Better to abandon this hopeless effort and seek true light. So it's a hopeless effort to continue this debate and this divisiveness in whatever it is that we're talking about.
If we don't debate, we don't get answers either. Sometimes debate does work.
It depends on what you're talking about. But give us a good, let's talk about a real example of that. What is something that it would be good to debate? Other than, can we stay out of politics? If we can't, let's talk about.
I can't. It's the only thing I can think of.
We can look at it from an overview, though, without taking sides with it, without actual. I can see how, at times with politics, but this is the thing, though, when you're talking about something, if you can come at it from an open mind and not have the conversation for me to make you right or wrong, and come at whatever it is that we're talking about open-mindedly, then that is different from what this is talking about, is you taking a side on everything, no open-mindedness, no room to grow, no room to learn, that you already have that's how I used to approach everything. I had my mind made up. You weren't going to change my mind, and I was there to convince you I was right. Yes, Scott, no humility. Exactly. Well, and that I really, it was a lot of ego, and it was a lot of fear, because I did not want to be wrong. I was not open to others' opinions. I'm more open now, but I think that's the kind of thing that it's wanting us to, so even if we have a discussion about something that's a heated topic like, okay, I got friends that think masks are ridiculous, okay? I mean, I've got some of my far-right friends, man, they think that it's a conspiracy. I mean, they've got all these far, things that I can't buy into. But just because they think that doesn't mean we've got to argue about it. I don't have to take a hard and fast that I judge them based on their opinion with that, I think that's a big part of this is learning to be in the middle, no matter what it is that we're talking about. Rob, you have something?
It's asking to come from a not I position.
Yes.
Or an I position. If you're looking from an I position, you've got all of your thoughts and your karmas and your views already set.
Exactly.
And yeah, all right. Sorry, Rob.
No.
Well, good. So practical is the other thing that we're not supposed to talk about, religion. I grew up in a group that had very narrow, defined views. Of course, they pulled it out of Scripture, and they were ready to go to the wall, fighting for it. And they used some scriptures out of context to back that. And I used to debate. I was I'm the why guy. Why? Sometimes just to get the other side of the argument because I was bored. What I found, and maybe somebody can dispute this, but when somebody goes jugular, their neck's tensing up, veins popping out of their forehead, their face is flush. Mine's just sunburn. I'm not mad. I think it's because at a core level, they're afraid that their position is wrong. Why else would they be upset? Now, they probably don't even realize this because everything, if it's not love, it's fear, right? So it's work back. It's either love or fear. So work back. So I think, and even myself, when I'm getting jugular on something, since I've gotten into recovery and I'm starting to grow up, I'm having to sit and go, wait a minute. Why? And I really honestly think people that are mad or that go to blows and are arguing, I think they're afraid they're wrong. Because if you are set in your viewpoint and you're comfortable with it and you're open and you're kind of like, well, people have been debating on this particular issue for 2,000 years or 5,000 years. Maybe this is a gray, and I know we're not supposed to have gray, but so for my sanity, I'm going to believe this. But I might change my mind too. If I get new circumstances or I just grow and change. But those people that we try to debate with, if they're in a position of fear, I think it's really dangerous to even go there. I think it's an act of futility to go there. And all it's going to do for me is jeopardize my sobriety. This is a sobriety Tao thing still, right? So somewhere in the middle of all of this, I got to protect my number one mission, and that's sobriety. And if I get into it, and I've got plenty of these friends, and if I wanted to start something up, I could get something going in 30 seconds, share my screen, and let you guys watch the nastiness. Because I got friends that will still go to blows over the stupidest things. Baptizing 3 times forward, 1 time back. I mean, bring it up. Pick your poison. Wearing masks, not wearing masks, politics, whatever. And they all seem to be related because this group of friends of mine, they mix politics and religion, which is even worse. So I don't know. I guess my point is, 1, I'm going to have to protect my sobriety. 2, I'm going to have to keep an open mind. And 3, when I'm watching people get crazy, maybe I need to respect them, pull back and go, look, I don't want to put you in, I won't go as far as to say, I don't want to jeopardize your security and put you into a fear, but I might just back off and go, this isn't worth it. Anyway, that's what I got.
Yeah, Rob, it says here, part of what, on toward the end of this, it says, when the wise man grasps his pivot, he's in the center of the circle, and there he stands while yes and no pursue each other around the circumference. Okay? I think that's the goal is for us to get out of that fight. We can have conversations without being in that cat claw going all the time. You know, we don't have to be in the middle of that. We just don't have to.
Can I go as far as to actually get some popcorn and a fizzy drink and kind of watch the show? Maybe not start it, but be an observer and actually...
That's the whole point, is to be the observer in life, because life is going to have people who are going to be divisive like that. We just don't have to participate in the divisiveness. We don't have to be disturbed anymore. And I think that's the whole point of this, is to understand that, you know, my wife helped me with this when she said, you know, how important is this anyway? And I said, yeah, you're right. I said, this is not important. It's not even going to be important in an hour, much less a day or a month or a year. I said, you're right. It's not important. It's not important that you know I'm right. You know, yeah. She can stay wrong. It's okay. She can be wrong. But as if that's really the case. But Craig, what you got?
I think with debates, I only get involved in things if I've got something to prove, and if my pride's at stake, I won't admit I'm wrong. If my pride's at stake, I'll never back down from an argument. That's just male stubborn pride. But I'm kind of at this. I'm at the stage now where I know what fights to get involved in, but I also know that I don't have to turn up to every single argument I'm invited to. I have to step back and find out what I've got to benefit from getting involved in something. Do I have anything to benefit apart from making myself look right, even though I might be wrong? So, but I checked that. Do you know what? I've got a regular Facebook feed. I didn't know this. Well, I did know this, but I've forgotten all about it because I've stayed away from it because of all the stuff that's going on in the world, because I just cannot do with the negativity and all the nonsense that's going on. I don't see why people are arguing about face masks. It's now mandatory in the UK, and if you're on public transport or going into shops, you must wear a mask, and that's it. You know, what is it to argue about? That's what's been set. That's the law of the land. You know, we need to obey the law of the land. It's done for a reason. So I think with some things like that, there is no debate. But yeah, what do I have to benefit? What do I have to gain? That's really when I get involved in something, is when I can see that I personally have something to gain. And I don't want to be in that position because, you know, I don't want to be proving people wrong. It's like Buddy says, give everybody the right to be wrong once in a while.
Well, this is the thing too, Craig. I think in stopping that fight, getting in the middle there and learning to observe it, like you were talking about, Rob, is the first step toward intuitive action, because we're really surrendering the conversation. We're surrendering the situation by staying out of it, by not proving our opinion, by being open-minded and open-hearted. I think that's the first step toward that. If you look in that third paragraph, he says, if I begin looking at anything from the viewpoint of the not I, then I do not really see it, since it is not I that sees it. If I begin from where I am and see it as I see it, then it may also become possible for me to see it as another sees it. So I think what he's saying is that when we open our heart enough to start seeing things as someone else sees it, then we start being open to be able to observe what's going on and see the right action to take. Because if we're so dead set on what we think, we're not open for anything. Y'all just interrupt me when you have something. I'm going to keep an eye on the hand raises. Oh, Scott, go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me be a part of this. Now I'm only mostly an ego, but when I was totally an ego, you couldn't be right. I think Rob was because if you're right, that means I'm wrong, and I can't be wrong. And it doesn't matter if it's politics or buying the right vacuum cleaner or, what gas to put in the car. It doesn't matter. Those things didn't matter. But if I'm in the ego, then you can't be right because I'm wrong, and I'm not wrong. You're wrong. And I'm hearing, to me, I was really functioning out of fear, and all of that, a fear of being wrong. And also something that Craig touched on was, and maybe Buddy, you were sharing, I can't remember, but I need to have compassion with this. And if I'm functioning in the ego and not seeing it your way, then I'm really doing it out of ego and not being compassionate. The opposite of fear is love. I need to be functioning more out of love with this than fear. If I'm in love, I'm going to be compassionate. And am I close to what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, and look at this, Scott. That last sentence in that third paragraph there says, hence the theory of reversal, that opposites produce each other, depend on each other, and complement each other. So how many times, if I enter a conversation with a strong opinion, what he's saying is that produces the opposite. So if I come into this thing all on one edge, like the pendulum, I come all the way over here, what's going to happen? It's going to swing back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of taking that element out is part of that, not being so divisive, not so opinionated, not, it was very difficult for me when I tried to stop voicing my opinion about everything. Just try sometime hearing a conversation, or you have 3 or 4 people around and they're having a conversation, and you just don't give your opinion. Even though you may have a very strong opinion, but you just are quiet. That is very difficult. Or it is for me. I'm not making that pendulum swing. I'm not producing one that's going to produce the opposite. Tina, you have something?
Yeah, I think it's you also need to ask yourself, why aren't you giving your opinion? If you're trying to be impartial, that's one thing. If you're afraid you're wrong, it's another, because that's also your ego. If you're trying to people please, you don't want to give your opinion. So I think there's so many, like your motive. I'm always checking my motive behind something, because what I produce and say, might look one way, but it's my motive that I really need to think about. And I think we truly don't know people's motives, where they're coming from, or even, I just think it goes so much deeper than what they say and do. Because we don't know their story, we don't know their background. But for me, when Craig was asking what's the benefit, that was a good question that I have to always ask myself. And like what Rob said, things are based out of love or fear. For me, it's usually fear, I think, because I haven't gotten to, unfortunately, the love, being motivated by love a lot yet. I think I'm stuck there. I was told once, you really can't love others until you love yourself, but I'm still stuck there working on that part of me. But if you're standing back and listening and really honestly, for me, I have to, only in this past year have I thought, I may not have the right answer where I used to think I did. And, when I was thinking about the I versus the not I, it's basically there is no such thing because we're all one. We're all the same. We're all in the same plane. And it's like it said, Native American saying is the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird. What you do to one, we are all the same thing here. And it's just a perceived feeling of right and wrong. But there's so many answers. Nothing's black and white. It's like when it's saying, then I do not really see it since if I begin from where I am and see it as I see it, then it may also become possible for me to see it as another sees it. Hence the theory of reversal, that opposites produce each other, depend on each other, and complement each other. I can't find the part where it says, so once you look at the other way, there's many other possibilities. So there's so many facets, like a diamond or something. Like there's so many facets in any way you look at it. And when really we're all on the same journey, but it is so hard with today's political climate, because I too get on the defensive and I think, why am I so passionate right now? And I think it's because someone else gets passionate and we feed off of that and we're threatened because what if I'm wrong? My husband, I think, is one of the smartest people I know, and I refer to him for a lot of things. And so if he doesn't agree with me, I'm shaken because then my whole world is rocked. And it's reminding me that he's just a person. I'm just a person. We're all just people. And it shouldn't shake who I am as a person on whether or not I feel like I have it down or not. But it's hard. It is really hard because we justify it. How does it really matter? In my mind, yeah, people's health are at risk. This is at risk. I personalize it to my mother-in-law with cancer, me with cancer. I have all these ways to justify why I'm right. And so to me, I'm right. And it is so hard because I was comparing this earlier to somebody saying people are so upset about masks when they drink and drive. How many people are so mad about saying, if you don't wear a mask, you're putting us in danger? How many times have you got behind the wheel of a car drinking where you have put the community in danger? Back and forth. It's no different. It's just right now we are fixated. And I am one of them. So I can't be like, oh, they're crazy. It's like, I'm right there with them. But I have to talk to myself and realize that it is hard. This is a good story. It's the perfect timing for this one, buddy.
Isn't it? It's good.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Tina. Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to bring this around to recovery if I could. I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective in that I never did a formal recovery program. When I first got into recovery, a lot of people were pushing me to do AA. And so what I did is I looked into the program and I found some things that I liked about it. So I kind of just cherry picked a few things. And I did that with all the different recovery groups, and I kind of cobbled together my own recovery program. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but that just was the way I wanted to go. And I got some brushback from some AA people, especially early on. And I still run into a lot of people that say it's either AA, the AA way, or whatever way they're working, or the highway. And that if you're not doing A, B, and C in recovery, then you're not doing it correctly. Well, here I am doing it my way, and I'm 11 plus years sober, and it seems to be working for me. So I'm not even going to get into that debate, and I'm not going to engage those people. And, if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then find something that does work for you. I'm a big proponent of, find whatever works for you and work it no matter what it is. But just, don't tell me what I need to be doing, because I'm doing just fine. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Paul.
You're a true pivotal man, Paul. You like stood in the middle and you like looked at everything and you go, I want a little of this, little of this, little of this. And you are a true pivotal man.
We all do that, whether we do it in the rooms or not, you know. None of us work it exactly the way that we're told, you know.
But some people let it get to them. And I'm not one of those people. I just say, well, you know, like we said, I think everybody touched on it. Everybody has their own opinion. And I'm probably not going to persuade you to my side, so I'm not even going to attempt it. It's kind of futile.
Well, what it is, I think, Paul, is that we give up the need to persuade. You know, we find out it's not important that you agree with me. That's no longer important. And that's the big difference, is because it used to be very important that you agreed with me for whatever. And I still don't have that all unpacked. I don't know if I ever will. But that's what has really shifted for me. And when I get in a conversation or I'm hearing a conversation that I might have some knowledge about, it's getting easier and easier just not to put my opinion in there, you know, unless it's going to benefit someone in some way. If it is, then so be it. But if not, okay, they can have their conversation without my input. You know, it's not necessary. So that's one of the big differences. How about in this next paragraph, the right turns into wrong and wrong into right. The flow of life alters circumstances, and thus things themselves are altered in their turn. So it's the flow of life altering circumstances. So the circumstances are going on. We try not to judge the circumstance. And this is why I invited Scott today. He has a very applicable circumstance going on that I thought we could use as our very practical example. He didn't know I was going to do this to him. A very practical example. Scott, tell us what's going on with your work.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that, buddy. And I'm glad that you guys can bring this up. So I'm trying. I was let go from my state job a couple weeks ago, and so I'm trying to decide what to do. I had a state job, and I also do a private practice counseling. And so the state job was pretty good money, easy money, really. And July 31st, my last day. So I'm trying to decide what to do next. Do I go create more business? Do I reach out to other therapists? Or do I just kind of sit back? Or do I encourage other therapists and try to help them in how to create their business to help them? Part of the program that I work, helping other people. If I help other people, I'm going to get help. It's always been good for me. If the mantra for me is, if I'm discouraged, I'm going to go encourage somebody else. 100% of the time, it's always worked for me. So now I'm trying to decide what to do for work. Do I create more clients, or do I help other therapists create more clients? And then I get a bunch of clients. So anyway, does that answer your question, buddy? Does that give a general description?
Yeah, you know, this is a real life example of how you would apply this. And there's a lot of people in this situation. So I just thought I don't have any answers. I just thought we could talk about it and see how this yes and no, this hard and fast, could apply to Scott's situation with his work, because he has no idea what really to do with this yet. So,
and the other thing is, I don't want to create drama. I don't want to create disaster. I don't want to get into something that's not right, not the right direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to just fuck shit up. How's that? You know, better. I want to do this my program's way, you know, the way the universe is going to come. I don't want to create my own universe and all this stuff.
Scott's a very good Christian counselor too, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you.
That's okay.
Comments, guys? Anybody got anything for Scott?
Great topic. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a personal life situation, so I'm behind you about, 7 months. I was in a federal position, which it's also government, and I've been a project manager for pretty much 30 years, both in construction and IT. And I was facing, they were closing down the office. And before, this is not I did it right or I did it wrong or anything, it's just my story. Before, the harder I worked at defining my goal and trying to pound a square peg into a round hole and just forcing it, the worse of mess I made of my career. Because if I look back, it's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen, and I need to learn to live with that. I really don't have much control. It doesn't mean I sit around and feel sorry for myself and just eat chocolate on the couch, but this worked out for me. Enough people quit. I wound up getting picked up. I'm now an accountant. I'm in an accounting series. I got to get a new certification. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what a pivot table is. You guys are doing pivots, and I'm like, pivot tables. I'm learning those. That's an Excel thing, in case you guys don't know that I'm just now learning it. But it's working out. It's like, okay, because I don't have any control over it. I can choose what clothes I'm going to wear if they're clean, and even that's kind of iffy. So why would I think that I can actually pick the right career, right? So it just, boom, everybody else was all fretting, and I finally had to go, okay, no, I'm not going to go nuts here anymore, because all I'm doing is threatening my sobriety and my sanity here. This is stupid. And I actually put it into action, and then, time went, and boom, they offered me this job. It's not what I would have chosen, but who cares? How many times have I been right in the past 30 years on my choices, right? Anyway, it's like, okay. And it all worked out. Now, again, I'm not saying just let go like God. I'm not one of those guys. You got to do stuff. I put out 118 applications. Turns out none of those really went anywhere, but I still had to go through the motions. And it worked out, and I'm at peace. And, it's not really what I like, but I'm making myself like it. I like it because it's a paycheck. And I didn't have to switch agencies. So anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but hang in there. I feel for you. Like I say, I'm right behind you. And, is there a wrong decision? No, I don't think so. I think whatever decision works,
How about this part of the disputants, the debate, the disputants that they continue to affirm and deny the same things they have always affirmed and denied, ignoring the new aspects of reality presented by the change in conditions. We can't see the change because we're so set in our thinking. We're not open-minded enough to see it. Marla? Then I'll go to Craig.
2 words, climate change. That's all I'm going to say. You just spoke to it.
Craig?
Okay, so at the risk of sounding like Duncan Bannatyne off The Dragon's Den, here's where I am. You never watched that? No? Okay. Right. So, Scott, this is where I am. This is what's happened to me recently. And it's just funny this is all happening. I've walked away from my Taekwondo business. And it's a business I've been a part of for the past 10 years. And I find it incredibly easy to let go of it because it's something that's been put in my path. It's happened for a reason. And I've got 2 options. I can sit and fight about why I should stay, and I could surrender to the fact that this is what's happening, and I'm going. So I've left the business. I've actually found it incredibly easy because I'm starting to trust my program. And I say I'm starting to trust my program. I've had faith in my program for a long time. I think there's a difference between having faith and actually having trust in my program to know that it's going to work. I'm now at the stage where I know that nothing's happening for a reason. The decision, the choice I now have to make is, what's God going to put in my life now? And who am I to go against it? I've reached the stage of just complete surrender. And what comes next is going to come next, and I'm not going to resist it. I don't think I'm going to get put in a situation where I'm going to have to be doing anything nefarious for money. I'm not going to have to go and sell my body or anything like that for money. It's although I may make a couple of pound, doubt it. But I'm just really going to do the next right thing. I know what I want to do, and what I want to do is there's a meeting on at the hospital on a Tuesday night, which is the night that I train, and there's been people at me for a while to go and help them out with that. That's what I've kind of got planned. So I'm kind of thinking that this other job's been put out of the way to create space for this other job, and I know that I can help a lot of people at that other place, and I'm not doing it for money, which is going to be a massive difference. I can actually help people, and it's like it says, the benefits will reap themselves. I think if God's pushing you in one direction, then I would go with it. That's as close to advice as I'm ever going to give. It's just a personal experience as to where I am, and it's been a very difficult decision, not arguing about it. And my wife's cracking up because she's like, you should be digging your heels in, you should be doing this, that, and that. I'm like, what's the payoff for me getting angry and upset about what's going on? Do a fourth step on it. What's the payoff? There is no payoff. So the solution is I can surrender and I can do the next right thing, and I can just do what God's going to put in front of me.
Well, Craig, also too, I think from our conversation about that, you didn't realize if it's money that you're looking at, mm-hmm. that you really weren't making a lot of money once you paid the stuff and the time and everything that was involved with it. So
yeah, that's right. So that's one of the pillars of my sobriety. The 5 areas that I focus on is my physical, my emotional, my mental, my spiritual, and my financial sobriety. And if one of those things is affecting the other thing, then I need to stop and have a look and see what I need to do about it. And if I need to let something go in order to make sure my sobriety is protected and at the forefront of my life, then that's what I need to do.
Thanks, Craig. The wise man, therefore, instead of trying to prove this or that point by logical disputation, sees all things in the light of direct intuition. He's not imprisoned by the limitation of I. For the viewpoint of direct intuition is that of both I and not I. I'm at the top of the second page. Hence he sees that on both sides of every argument there is both right and wrong. He also sees that in the end they are reducible to the same thing, once they're related to the pivot of the Tao. When the wise man grasps his pivot, he's in the center of the circle, and there he stands while yes and no pursue each other around the circumference. The pivot of the Tao passes through the center where all affirmations and denials converge. He who grasps the pivot is at the still point from which all movement and opposition can be seen in their right relationship. Hence, he sees the limitless possibilities of both yes and no, abandoning all thought of imposing a limit or taking sides. He rests in direct intuition. Therefore, I said better to abandon disputation and seek the true light. He can rest in direct intuition when you abandon opposing and taking sides. So how would you apply that to Scott's situation? Well, first, open-mindedness, a lot of surrender of fear, a lot of page 84. Paul, what do you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say it all comes down to letting go and or surrender again, doesn't it? Just like all the rest of this stuff does.
Every time, Paul, every time. It never changes. That's the thing. This does not change. The solution's always the same. It's turning our will and our life over to the care of God. Actually, this whole process helps us to do that a little more. When we have situations like this, it's like praying for patience and get a line to stand in. Scott's praying for his will and life to be turned over to the care of God, and he loses a job. What do you think that's going to do for you turning your will and your life over to God's care? It's going to help you to do it, because that's another thing out of Scott's care that he's having to turn over to God's care. And, it's one thing to pray that and think that. It's another thing to live it. And so he's having to live it and then see it work out. I think gratitude would really help me with that as well. Gratitude would help in learning how to do that, how to take care of that kind of a situation. That's where I would begin, and be that observer and not have these hard and fast rules set up. Anything else, guys? Craig?
I think it's just going to be a classic example of practicing these principles in all your affairs.
Yeah.
Step 6, am I willing to do this now? Am I willing to do this now that my back's against the wall? Or am I going to resort to my old behaviours and just start panicking, just making wrong decisions based on my will?
Based on fear?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Rob?
What alternative do I have? Really?
Exactly.
I mean, what's my alternative? Throw my fists in the air and scream at the mean old guy upstairs that's making my life uncomfortable? That's going to change a whole lot of stuff, right? It's going to make me mad, discontent, irritable, and generally a mess, a horrible human. I know it's easier said than done, but I've actually had some pretty shitty stuff going the last year, and so I think I've earned a little bit of a right to go, yeah, this stuff works. And that's the thing I tell the new guys. It's like, it works. It works.
Well, it was like Tina was talking about learning to love herself. For me, Tina, the way I learned to love myself was by loving others, because they are me. We're all the same. So, that goes back to that same adage of when I help you, I'm helping me. And for me, that's how, because as long as I was focusing on me, nothing changed. But when I started helping you, everything changed. So that for me, that's how that worked. And the same thing, listening to Scott, and Scott just texted me, his computer died. So he'll listen to this on the podcast. And he said, thank you for, I'm sure he's very appreciative for all the suggestions. For me, when I was listening to him talk about it, I saw where his heart was in helping some. He's got some ideas there that we did not hear on helping some other people with their practices. So if I were him, that's probably where I would start while I was looking and seeing what other opportunities were available for me. That's where I would start, because I could tell from his conversation he was already talking about what he wanted to do. So that's where I would begin if it were me, and make sure I was surrendering the fear and learning how to take that to the next level.
And him losing that job might just be the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, he's had it for a number of years too. This isn't a new job. He's had this job for a long time. So, but it's, we say it's COVID related, but there are no mistakes. I still don't think there are mistakes, COVID or no COVID. I think it's just that when we let go enough to see the flow, it's like the water going down the stream. It's always going. No matter what the circumstances are around it, it's going down the stream. We can either jump in and go where it's going. It might be going a place we weren't expecting, but as long as we stay out in the stream, and keep our feet up, hopefully we can just keep floating on with it, keeping the flow of what's going on. And I think that's the whole idea, is that get rid of that I, me, and mine, us four and no more, and you and me, and all the divisive business, and just get to a place to where we can see what's really going on instead of just being stuck in our small ideas and not able to see anything except that. So that's where the intuitiveness comes in, I think. Anything else, guys? Kate, you've been quiet today, dear. Everything good? Yeah? Okay. All right.
Namaste, Kate.
Yes. Oh.
That is, by the way, that is the true meaning of this whole pivot chapter is the true meaning of namaste. I see your point of view. You see my point of view. Namaste. I honor that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important.
Well, that's the thing that That's the thing that recovery's really brought to me, Marla, is that I am you, you are me. That whole idea of us, that connectedness that I never thought was there before.
Me neither. Me neither. It was really enlightening to hear the thoughts in my head coming out of other people's voices. Made me normal.
It was me against the world.
Yeah.
Not me for the world.
That reminds me of something we spoke about earlier on, Marla, in the other meeting. We were talking about spiritual rapport. I've connected spiritually with more people in recovery than I have ever.
Because we're studying, we need spirituality, so we're connecting on that level.
Yeah.
We're like people out there don't want it.
And I think it's because there's that genuine connection, because we know that we're all here for the same thing. We've all got the exact same thing to gain. We're not trying to. There's never this competition between people that's in recovery. There's never a case of I want this more than you. It's just a case of we're here for the same reason. How can I help you?
That's why the fellowship works.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's about the fellowship, not about the dogma.
Yeah, and it's like Paul says, you can work a program, you can not work a program, as long as you're 95% is turning up.
And be kind.
Be kind and play Candy Crush.
Tina, you have something there?
Yeah. A couple of thoughts I had about something for Scott reminded me of, and sometimes I'm brought back to Neil Donald Walsh, who I've never really been able to get into his book, Conversations with God. However, that's a great example of, just because I haven't been able to relate to his book at this point in my life doesn't mean I can't pull the things, like Paul was saying, from AA. I can't pull the things that work for me from him. And as soon as I cut something off, it shuts the sunlight of the spirit off from me. If I say, nope, don't like him, then where am I? Everybody has something to offer, no matter what or who you are, what walk of life you're from. When I saw him speak, and he said the main thing, and he wasn't doing well health-wise, and he said, I gotta go. He said, read this chapter. This is what I'm trying to say here, but the one thing I want you to know is that your problems have already been solved for you. And I found so much comfort in that, is what I was thinking of for Scott, and it would, for any of us that go through something, this has been solved. Everything's taken care of. We're just not there yet or see it yet. And it just made me feel like I felt the way when somebody said, Tina, you're not responsible for the world's happiness or for everybody's happiness. It was a similar feeling, like nobody has told me that before. I didn't know that, and now I know. So it's stopping me from cutting myself off from the sunlight of the spirit in terms of, nope, if this is what I'm looking for, if I'm looking for a certain kind of tree, and I'm like, nope, there it is. I've missed all those other trees. So if you're looking to just reaffirm your own beliefs, you're missing so much. And that's what this has taught me about trying to be able to see somebody else's point of view. And it's hard because it goes against every instinctual fiber in my body.
Oh, it does. Because I have to show love to them. I have to show compassion and kindness to do that, Tina. I have to show understanding rather than, it's the St. Francis prayer. Really, I seek to understand than to be understood. It's the same thing. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, guys, I appreciate you. Oh, did y'all enjoy Sensei last week? Did y'all enjoy him? I can get him once a month, he said, if I wanted to. So let's talk about it in future, and just see what we want to do. Marla?
I sent you a suggestion about taking a verse like the pivot and taking it apart with him. Maybe
I would love that. I think that would be good. I think we could for sure do that. So,
okay.
I'll talk to him and see when what's a good Thursday for him to figure out that he could do this every month, and we'll start planning. And I wanted to ask him things like, can I be conservative and still follow Zen? I don't know. All of them I meet are all super liberal, right? They're all like real liberal. I'm like, that's not me. I'm hoping I don't have to start voting Democrat to be as, oh my God, would that work? What were we talking about today, huh?
Pivoting, I don't know.
That would have no application, would it?
I posted that meeting to the Recovery Elevator podcast page, and I joined a meeting the next day. And just as I joined, Paul Churchill and a couple of other guys, they were sat talking about that meeting, and they were saying how phenomenal it was. He really was just so inspirational. I'm still struggling to take in exactly. I'm on my third listening. I'm still picking up new stuff. He was absolutely fantastic. So thanks for organising that, buddy. That was great. And it really would be good to see him again.
He's a great guy. So we'll kind of plan ahead and make sure. My apologies too, because I thought he was coming this week. It's my mistake. He just pops up and I wasn't. Yeah, I'd been thinking about him last Thursday. Don't I? Well, when he comes on, ask this and this. So mentally, I was preparing, but I had no idea he was last Thursday. My apologies. That was totally my fault. So.
Okay, it was fun. We went with the flow.
We did. So, well, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.